Story 1. Putting the real estate agent's face on the for sale signs. Story 2. I am American, but something I did not realize was unusual until I traveled abroad is that some of our coins do not have the denomination or value on them. For instance, our 10-cent coin just says 1 dime. How are tourists supposed to know how much a dime is worth? It is the smallest coin, so it must be worth the least, right? Wrong. I love our country. Story 3. How easy it is as an outsider to make friends. You all are very kind. I moved here at the start of the year. I have a small group of friends back in New Zealand and thought I would have trouble making new ones, but Americans have been some of the friendliest people I have met. Story 4. It's big. Like really big. I'm from the United Kingdom, and 2 years ago I did Route 66. Even taking the interstate, not the actual Route 66, but you get the idea. It took 4 days of 12+ hours driving to do it. It's really huge. Story 5. You all can strike up a conversation with a tree. You literally do not need anyone to respond, and you will talk relentlessly. It is a generalization, as I know there are some quiet Americans, but I was just down in a Publix trying to decide what beer to buy when some woman suddenly started talking to me about how she met her husband. I love it. I am a fairly quiet person. New Zealand is a fairly reserved place, so just being able to stream your consciousness out like that is something truly remarkable. I married an American. She talks enough for both of us. Story 6. The restaurants expect you not to finish the food and to take it home. My mother finds taking home leftovers from a restaurant embarrassing and will not do it. However, American restaurants have portion sizes that seem to expect this. Story 7. Prescription drug advertisements on television that casually say, side effects may include death, shocked me. The number of people discussing the legal requirements and logic behind the death warning just proves my point. In most other countries, you cannot advertise prescription drugs, especially those with severe side effects that may include death. In my country, over-the-counter drugs like cold and headache medications or basic supplements are advertised. This is not a comment about the death warning itself, but about the extent of healthcare corporatization that allows prescription medications to be promoted like candy. Also, the question was about the weirdest thing that is normal in America, so I am referring to the above. Many comments mention how friendly Americans are, and I completely agree. While the advertisements were surprising, it was a pleasant and lovely surprise, not weird. Americans are lovely, even if you can buy death candy on television. Story 8. As a Brit, how amazingly and genuinely friendly you are. How enamored you are with British culture and people. I was invited to a barbecue in a public place by someone I met because he liked the t-shirt I was wearing. I felt like some sort of celebrity. I'm an average guy, but everyone wanted to chat with me. I've traveled extensively and have met many other nationalities while in their countries. I've been made to feel welcome in almost all, but how I was treated once my accent was heard in the United States was on another level. Thank you for making me feel so welcome. I've had several amazing trips to the United States. They hold a very special place in my heart. Story 9. The options when ordering food. I thought it was a television joke. I feel naughty asking to swap chips for mashed potatoes. But you can request pretty much anything. Story 10. The weirdest thing for me when visiting Madison, Wisconsin, was the excellent cheese curd selection and the cheap, delicious local beer. I actually fell in love with Madison, Wisconsin. It was so beautiful in December. It was quite a small place, but I pictured my life there. Too bad you can't really get a decent job without a doctorate degree there. You guys are friendly, mild-mannered, and lovely. Now that it's starting to snow in my home country, I'm thinking about Madison again. You rule, Wisconsinites. Greetings from Finland. I hope to get back there someday. Somebody mentioned that there's plenty of work in Madison, and I'm sure you're right. I work in information technology, and it might be a bit hard to reach my current level with my degree over there. It is sad because I would love to live in a Wisconsin house. Just a slow life would be perfect. Story 11. Making small talk with random people. When I am in Europe once in a while and start to talk to the cashier at the gas station or elsewhere, they think I am a crazy person. In the United States, this is normal. I prefer the United States way. Story 12. I went there for university, and honestly, Americans do a lot of little things that are generally nice. holding the door open, smiling if you make eye contact while walking, randomly saying a quick greeting and giving random compliments too. I never got the vibe that people were just making them up like some of my friends who have not been. For example, if someone complimented someone's clothes or hair, it seemed like they meant it. They just did not seem to hold back random thoughts and said them out loud. I did not even really notice the door holding after the first few days, but when I went back to my country, I actually missed it. Not that I ever expected someone to hold the door, even in America, but the absence of it and quick smiles was surprisingly noticeable back home. Story 13. Hearing someone speak with an American accent in real life, my brain just associated it with movies and similar contexts. Story 14. I am from the United Kingdom and now live in Minnesota. The first thing I noticed is how friendly everyone seems to be. It may be the Minnesota nice way of talking, but seriously, everyone is welcoming and kind. The first time I flew to the United States, I sat next to an American woman, and we started talking. I explained I was visiting my partner for the first time and how nervous and excited I was. We talked until we boarded, and once we landed, she went into mother mode. She let me use her phone to call my partner, went through security and baggage claim with me, and even walked me out to where my partner was waiting, just to make sure I was safe. She then gave me all her details and emphasized that if anything happened, or if I needed any help, I could call her and she would assist me. I found out she worked for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Even though I never needed to call her, knowing I had someone there made me feel very safe. I really hope she is doing well today. Story 15. I lived in California for 3 years. I made more friends there than I did living in my home country for over 30 years. Story 16. How huge the United States is. The fact that you can be on a plane for 5 hours without leaving the country. That, and time zones. When I was a kid, I couldn't grasp why United States television shows were on at, for example, 9/8 Central. Story 17. I am editing this because the United States of America is clearly not the place it was when I visited years ago. It has become a hateful and backward place. It has lost its way significantly. Story 18. Americans can start a sincere conversation without being awkward. No one begins a question by saying, "Sorry to be weird." They do not feel embarrassed if they do not know something. They can listen to you tell a story without interrupting to share a similar story about themselves. Americans tend to have excellent social skills, although some do not fully appreciate how unusual they can be. Story 19. Coffee all the time. I got a tattoo in Barcelona and was completely embarrassed when I asked the artist if he wanted a coffee from next door. He told me, "Oh no, I have to keep working." He thought I wanted to sit with him for a while. Story 20. The toilet is so full of water. I always have to convince myself that I am not about to dunk my cheeks. Story 21. Trying to reconcile your lovely in-person dispositions with the fierce hatred and division portrayed in the media. It seems as though the bottom of the gene pool has somehow been chosen as brand ambassadors, which seems odd. Imagine Nike and other companies doing the same, instead of picking the best of the best as their ambassadors. Story 22. When I arrived in Texas, I sang out, "The stars at night are big and bright." But no one continued the song. Pee-wee's Big Adventure had misled me. Story 23. Could not buy beer on Sunday morning at Walmart in North Carolina. Story 24. My boyfriend is Scottish. When people hear his accent here in the United States, they just go crazy. Story 25. This is only from a tourist perspective. I found it unusual how friendly you are and how happy you all seem. This is not a complaint. I met a few lovely Americans while traveling through the eastern seaboard, and my cynical British side was struck by how open and excited you are to meet new people. Story 26. The fact is that looking at the news, you would think they are the angriest, most aggressive people in the world. However, when you are there in person, they are, with very few exceptions, very decent and welcoming. Story 27. The work culture is intense. I worked there, and some people just do not take time off. They are basically on call all the time. Evenings, weekends, and whatever else. Story 28. The billboards on the interstates say, "Only 20 miles to," or "Only 15 miles to." followed by the name of a chain or business. There are fireworks everywhere. Story 29. The tax is not automatically added to the price shown in shops, restaurants, and other places. If I only have $1 in my pocket, I would like to see immediately what I can buy for that dollar without having to find out the tax rate and calculate it. Story 30. I am an American, but I am always surprised that nobody in these discussions mentions all of the self-storage facilities we have here. There are storage units everywhere, and they are being built all the time. People have so much stuff that they cannot fit it in their homes and rent out space for even more belongings. It is surprising to me. Story 31. Lived in the United States for 4 years, and here are some things that constantly surprised me. Sales tax not being included in the price. I got used to it after 4 years, but it still occasionally caught me off guard. Healthcare bills. Tailgating on the highway. Even people complaining about tailgaters were often tailgating themselves. Porch sitting, with people sitting on their porches watching passersby. Distances. I drove coast to coast and thought it would never end. Most men being quite knowledgeable about cars. Drive-through automated teller machines never stopped being funny to me for some reason. Story 32. Nice to hear what non-American people think of us. News corporations do not do a good job portraying normal American people. They are very focused on a small group of the left or the right. I am pretty sure 90% of us just want to live comfortably and be left alone in our lives. We are not all angry. Story 33. Non-Americans seem to find root beer to be a strange beverage. Story 34. Radically different laws exist for each state. You could be illegal in one state, then travel a few miles and suddenly you are safe. Story 35. I went to a gas station, and an advertisement played on a video screen on the pump. I hate advertisements. It was an awful experience. Story 36. I was surprised when random people asked me how I was. Usually in Italy, if someone asks, "How are you?" it means they are interested in your well-being and expect an answer. Story 37. I think it is surprising how in some United States counties you cannot drink alcohol but drive 3 blocks away and you can. Story 38. When the workers at food places take your card and walk away while you are paying, it feels so weird, and I hate it every time it happens. Story 39. A foreigner once told me that he could not believe how much stuff Americans owned. He said that when he came to the United States, he was shocked to find out about storage units. He said he never knew anyone who had so much stuff that they had to pay to store it in another place, and it was so crazy to him. I had never thought of it that way before. I cannot remember what country he was from. Story 40. The pharmaceutical advertisements are intense. You are watching football, and suddenly there is a voiceover warning about erections lasting more than 4 hours or suicidal thoughts, set to pictures of smiling people on sailboats. Story 41. Coming from India, I have observed that the size of all the fruits and vegetables is very large, which does not feel normal. It seems as if they have been deliberately enlarged, which diminishes the natural taste of the vegetables slightly. Story 42. From the perspective of a Canadian who is in the United States a lot. How super friendly and polite they are. Sometimes they are a little too friendly, which is not what I am used to. Here in British Columbia, people really keep to themselves. Story 43. Most Americans are very polite people who want to help. Story 44. Huge churches resembling football stadiums with full parking lots. Story 45. I didn't realize that in New York City they still use swipe and sign for credit cards. The server took our card, and we followed him to the server station because in Canada they either bring the machine to you or you pay at the desk. This was 2017, and we hadn't had to sign for a bill in about a decade. Everyone at Bubba Gump thought we were the strange ones. Story 46. Displaying various information about your children, their schools, and your political views on your car using bumper stickers seems unusual to me. Why would you want strangers driving behind you to know those details? Story 47. Political news is constant, with a big election always appearing to be on the horizon. Canadian news, by comparison, is much quieter. Yes, there is political news, but there are limits on how far in advance of an election parties can campaign. This period is about 2 months. For those 2 months, Everyone focuses intensely on federal politics. The media covers the election, and then the country mostly relaxes again. The American political system, on the other hand, seems committed to inducing long-term anxiety. Story 48. Wild and extreme pharmacy advertisements show scenes of people being happy and lively while the narrator states that suicidal thoughts may be a side effect of the medication being advertised. Story 49. For me, what was shocking was how sweet a lot of food was. I mean, things I would never expect to be sweet, like bread or mayonnaise. Also, the size of portions of food. I sometimes was not able to eat half of the portions I was served. And how nice people were. It was a really amazing experience. Story 50. In Reno, I was waiting for a car to pass so I could cross the road. The person driving stopped for me and gestured for me to cross. This was not at a crosswalk. 10 years ago, and it still stays with me. Story 51. Friendly, helpful, polite, positive, inward-looking, monocultural, can do. Massive consumption of resources with little awareness of this. All in all, an amazing country full of extraordinary people. Story 52. Judges and sheriffs are not only elected, but also affiliated with political parties. Story 53. Advert breaks interrupt shows much more often than in the United Kingdom. Then there are recaps and rehashed clips throughout the program about things that happened 15 minutes ago. It felt like I had attention deficit hyperactivity disorder when I caught Oak Island on holiday. This week in Oak Island. Look at the shiny car for sale. Could this be treasure? Buy these burgers. Could the thing we just found be treasure? Warning. Taking this drug will make you grow another head. It's wood. Here is a lizard selling insurance. Yay, it's wood again. Actually, we are really glad it's wood because of the Super Bowl. Story 54. Long driving distances are not a problem here. A 65-mile drive is easy, but back home it was a big deal. Yes, a 1,200-mile drive to visit someone. Story 55. I wouldn't say weird, but it is not what I am used to. The friendliness of Americans is notable. They are very easy to strike up a conversation with. You might not get into deep conversations or make a lifelong friend, but you can easily have a good chat with them. Also, the portion sizes in restaurants are enormous. Dear God. Story 56. The general kindness of people in the United States. I was in the United Kingdom from ages 6 to 10, and instead of being bullied when I returned, I was welcomed back by kids I knew from kindergarten. Thinking back on it more than 40 years later, it was quite touching and adorable. The kids from my schools in Wales and Manchester were very good at fighting and beat me badly on the first day of school. I was a personal independence payment recipient from South Park. Story 57. I am Canadian and I travel to the United States every couple of weeks. I am always amazed by how incredibly nice and friendly Americans are. Do not let the news fool you. It makes you think everything is on fire and everyone is in a political party. This is absolutely not true for everyone, and you will mostly find really nice and warm people. Story 58. Obsession with university. Did everyone go to Harvard? An American gave me a business card that read, Yale graduate. Who cares where you went to university? Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.